Hello friends, welcome to this video. In this video I want to work with Laravel pivot tables, and if you go to the Laravel documentation, in the many-to-many relationship we have an example with a pivot table. So in this example we have users, roles, and the pivot table is role user, and the name matter here, so we cannot name user roles, but role user is alphabetically, so role before the user. And we need here only the user ID and the role ID. For that I have created a project, Laravel 9 project, and here it is. Right now we just display this welcome. And in here's the web route, and I return the view welcome, and the welcome, I just add this welcome string here. And I have created a database for that, name app, and also the role model. And I added the fillable name and also the roles table, and I'll add the name here. And I created the role user table. Right now it's empty because I want to work with you together. So the same thing we have here, role user, and I'm going to add just a role user like this. And I'm going to add the user ID and role ID right now. So come here and say $table, origin ID to be user ID, and add the constraint here. The same thing for the table origin ID, for the role ID. Okay. And with that, now I'm going to say, open the terminal and say artisan migrate fresh and -- seed. Okay, clear this one and refresh. Here we have the roles, ID, name, and users is empty, and the role user which has user ID and role ID. Okay, now let's go and create the relationship between the user and the role. So for that we need to go in the user model and say, first I'm going to close this, and in the end I'm going to say public function for roles, and we need to return $this belongsToMany role class. We don't need to specify anything here because we named the table role user, so the same thing we had here. We don't need to specify the table in the relationship. Okay, and also in the role I'm going to create the relationship, so public function users and return $this belongsToMany user class. And with that we can cut the user and make a for each to display all the roles, but we don't have any roles right now. So for that I want to create some roles in the database seeder. I have prepared something here, some code to create roles. So I'm going to create 3 roles: user, admin, and writer. and make for each roles and role create and add the name. And also after that, I make two for each the attach the role ID in the user. And if I say artisan db seed, okay, go to the roles database, sorry, refresh, and we have a relationship here. Also in the roles we have 3, and users we have 10 users. Now we are okay. We can go and make a for each. So first I'm going to say in the web PHP, I'm not going to create a controller here. I'm going to say $user and user find the ID 1, and I'm going to add the user here, so compact and user. Sorry, the user. Now in the welcome, I'm going to display that user. $user and name. Go to the browser and refresh, and right now we have the username here, and also I'm going to add this in the h1 and refresh. Yeah, here it is. Okay. I want now to display all the roles this user has. So we need to make a for each the user roles and get all the roles. So let's create that. Make for each the user roles as $role and add the span and display the role name. $role name. Go to the browser and refresh. And what we have, role name, and we need to add the and for each, because I think, yeah, and here we have user, admin, and writer. And maybe add a div here. Okay, refresh. And yeah, now we have user, role, user, admin, and writer, and also add the h2, because it's, yeah, now it's more okay. And if I go here, so the user with ID 1 has 3 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 1. And if I remove this, save, so now the user with ID 1 has only the role with ID 1 and 3, which is user and writer. So I remove the admin. If I refresh, yeah, we get only the user and writer. Okay. Also, we can get user find roles and order by name. So if I do this, go to the web and add this one, and now say roles here. Okay, in the welcome, instead of this, we just say roles. Okay. Go to the browser and refresh. Yeah, we have only the user and writer. And if I change the user, for example, the web PHP, add the user with ID 2, and come here. Now we need to see the admin, user, and writer. If I refresh, yeah, say admin first, because the user with ID 2 has also the role with ID 2 and the role with ID 3 and 1. Okay, next one. What we can do is, so if we don't name the table like this, role user, we can add the role. We need to add the table in the relationship method and also the fields. So the third argument here is the origin key name of the model which you are defining the relationship. In this case, we are in the user. So the first one is going to be user and the second role. So let's go and create that. It's not, so here I'm going to change this to be roles and users and roles. I don't do that, but just I'm going to create that for you and open the terminal and run migrate fresh. And why we have that? We have okay, we need also first to go in the users and make the relationship. So wait a second. Here now we need to add, we are in the users, we need to add the roles and users is the table. Now here we need to add the users ID and the relation relation key is roles ID. Now in the role we need also to make changes, so here we need to say roles and users, and here we need to add the roles first, roles ID, and users, the related pivot key, users ID. Okay, run this, everything okay, go to the database and refresh. Yeah, we have a relationship and also users. And if I go to the browser and refresh, everything works. Okay. Next, what we can do is, so we added this in the role and do the inverse. So, for example, in the web, instead of finding the user, I'm going to say find the role. So $sign role and role find one, and say here role in the welcome, sorry. Instead of this one, I'm going to say role users as $sign user and display the username now. Sorry, user name, and here I'm going to display the $sign role name. Okay, go to the browser and refresh, and yeah, the role is user, and this role has the user, this one and this one and this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I go and remove one, so in the roles users, so the first one I'm going to remove, save, and if I refresh, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, next one, what we can do, we can add the create dot with timestamps. So if we go in the create role users table here and add $roles. Sorry, what table? I forgot this table, and add timestamps. We need to go to the user and in here say with timestamps the same thing in the role model. So with timestamps, okay, run the migration, everything okay. If I go to the browser and refresh, yeah, we have 10 now because we migrate seed, and in here now in the welcome we have role users, and we can say also the display also the created out or updated out what we want. So I'm going to copy this, and in the span now I'm going to display that $user, sorry, pivot and created out, and go to the browser and refresh, and yeah, we have the created out here. Okay, next thing is if we want to add one more field in the, or two fields in the pivot table. And so I'm going to add this active. So go to this one and add one more $sign table, and I'm going to add boolean active and say default to be false. Okay. Also, we need to run again the migration, and we need to go now in the relationship method and add this with pivot and the field. Okay, so in the user add one more field here. So with pivot and active, the same thing in here. With pivot active. Okay, and we can display that. Go to the welcome and say here we need to change first. I'm going to change the, so refresh, and to the first user say the active one, user ID 1 and role ID 1, and also in the this one save, save, and so here first we can do the same thing, add the span and display $sign user, pivot, and active. Go to the browser and refresh, and is 0. So what I'm not going to say here, H4, and refresh. yeah, here is 1, the first user, and all of that is 0. What we can do with that? So if I want, we can create another relationship. So what I'm going to do on the, yeah, here we have where pivot and give it the field name is 1. So we can go there in the users. We have roles, and I'm going to create one more relationship method here. So copy and paste it here, but I'm going to say not roles, but active roles. So active roles, and with pivot, instead of with pivot, I'm going to say where now. Where pivot active is 1. We need to add where active is 1, and if I go now here in the web, first I'm going to say user and user find the user with ID 1, and this add the user here. And in the welcome, so first I'm going to add the username, because we have user now, not the role. Okay, and instead of the row, I'm going to remove this one and make for each. Now instead of the roles, or I'm going to do the same thing, also for the role and for active role. So $ user roles as $role, and h2 is going to display the role name, the h3 is going to display the role pivot and created at, and also the h4 display the role pivot and what we have active. And for each. Okay, go to the browser and refresh. Why? Where is the problem? Roll here. Okay, yeah, here is a name, and the role is user, has this created at, and the active is 1. Here the active is 0, and the active is 0 here. Now I'm going to copy this one and do the same thing, but now instead of roles, I'm going to say active roles. Okay, so in the user, we have these active roles, and come here and refresh. And you see here now we have 1, which is user, but here we don't have this with pivot active. Okay, because we added here where pivot is 1. So we don't need that. But this is $user active role. So this is only the active role, and I'm going to add here the h1 and say active role. Okay, so refresh, And now here we have the active role, which is this one. And I'm going to do here, so the user with ID 2 has also the user role with active, but I'm going to add the user with ID 3 is going to be the role with ID 3 active. So save and come here in the web. I'm going to find the user with ID 3. And if I go here, now it's going to be the role with ID 3, which is active. If I save this one and save, okay. Now the user with ID 3 has the role with ID 3 active. And the role with ID 3 is writer. So refresh, and yeah, here we have the active role is writer. Okay, friends, that's it for this video. You have where pivot in and pivot not in, pivot between, not between, null or not null. And also we can create where is okay, I think it's down. Yeah, we can create also the role user class and extend the pivot relationship. Okay, extend the pivot class. Now if you want more about the Laravel many-to-many relationship or eloquent relationship, comment and I'm going to create more videos. Hope you enjoy and see you in the next one. All the best, friends.